again. Classical learners back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Dan 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 dan. All right. Let us grab TikTok. Are you not entertained? Is that not why you are here? Ah, people loving our greenhouse specs. Ooh. The people are loving the greenhouse specs. All right, let's see. They better. I was stressed through the roof yesterday trying to put that together. I made a mistake. Not last night, but the night before last night. The night before last night, when I was putting Brady to bed, I fell asleep. And that's the time that I put together lesson plans for the next day. So like usually from like 8 p.m. to 12, 1, 2 in the morning, I've been putting together these lessons. And I fell asleep. So I had to wake up the next day and I had to get the entire nature unit study done. And that included the greenhouse specs. That included all of the business stuff for the children's fall event. You know, the invitation list, the marketing list, like everything that I had to put together. So like yesterday, I was just stressed out trying to get that done. That's why I didn't stream. I haven't streamed in 2 days. I could tell because everyone's abandoned me. Oh, what have you done for me lately, huh? All right, let's do this. All right, TikTok, what should we call this? What should we call this? Let's call this what we call every stream. Homeschool and Homestead. Come on. And Homestead, and then we'll give it we'll call it I'm Back as well. I'm back. I'm back. Guess who's back? But I don't have enough characters, so I have to write BAC. They're going to be like, this guy can't spell. All right, you know what I'll do? I'll use a tricks of the trade. I learned this on my Twitter days when I was very active on Twitter. I'll use a colon instead of a dash, and then I picked up an extra character, and then boom. Hey, Melissa, yes, I'm back. The last 2 days I've been between the drum lesson and then the nature unit study. I just haven't had time, and I wanted to get those done because I turned the corner in where we are with Homeschools Connected. And, you know, there was a time period where no matter what, I had to put the marketing aspect of it first for growth reasons. But I got to a certain point where I'm comfortable with it, and now, no matter what, I put the curriculum development first. And because of that, I took 2 days off of streaming just to do curriculum development, and I'm happy that we're at that place, and we're going to keep growing. So, you know, everything's give and take, and but that's the thing, you know, like when I started this out, I have no choice but to be the one-man marketing wrecking ball, and I really want to get to the place where I could stop making even the videos every day, and then really, again, turn my focus toward other things. But right now I have to make at least the videos every day for Instagram, for TikTok. But that's like, I see that time and I'm like, that's time I could be spending building curriculum, building courses, building unit studies. So like everything's give and take, and with each step in the process, there'll be adjustments, but it is what it is. All right, so let's go do some streaming. I do like streaming with you guys. I find it very therapeutic for myself to talk about education and just to talk about my thoughts on the world. Like, when I get going talking about like conspiracies, I have a good time with that. So, all right, all right, let's Who needs to organize thoughts? Let's just let it rip. I love when I get invited on podcasts and they're like, all right. Should we talk about this, that? What should we talk about? I'm like, what we should do is let it rip. Nicole, if you're watching, someone just joined Homeschools Connected. If you could inbox them to check their email. I've been doing that. So, one of the problems I was running into is people, they would join, and a lot of people, like a high percentage, not like a high percentage, but higher than I would like, wouldn't be able to figure out that they got sent the welcome email. And I don't want to lose people before they actually ever see the platform. So we've been doing a much better job at that. When people join, I inbox them. I said, check your email. They check it, and boom, then they're set up, and we can get them going. So, all right, without further ado, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, TikTok. I am back, and it is a beautiful day here in the sunny South where I can relax to the therapeutic sound of those cicadas making all that noise. The last few days, my son has been absolutely obsessed with the cicadas. He's been collecting cicadas. He found a couple cicadas that, albeit are having a tough time, he has been taken care of on seemingly their way out of this world, getting them grass, getting them leaves, and whatever it is that cicadas like. But he's been watching videos on cicadas, reading about cicadas, loving cicadas. And it really is the right way to educate your child. And as homeschool parents, we know that you have the advantage of adjusting your education to the needs of your child. And if your child wakes up one day and they become obsessed with cicadas, then my God, let them enjoy their time learning about cicadas, because the world around us is this great mystery. And one of the beautiful things of childhood and children is that they are curious about that mystery, and they have something that us as adults, we usually don't have, which is the time to explore and study that curiosity. So let your children follow their interests. Let your children do what they love to do. But that gets us to the topic of today. And the title of this stream, which is Homestead and Homeschool. And how we can use the world around us, how we can use nature to give our children an education, which I always say, an education worthy of freedom. Because if you're like me, you don't want your child to grow up and be reliant, good morning, Smarty Bear, and be reliant on the government. You don't want your child to grow up and be reliant on a corporation, because that corporation could turn around and say, listen, 20-year-old Matthew, your child's 3 right now, but in 17 years, he's 20. If you want to keep your job, you have to get this procedure. I don't want my child to ever feel like they have to do something like that they're against. But we can only do that if we educate them to be free and show them how to live a free and independent life. And in this one talk, I am going to show you, from critical thinking to skill development to getting your child entrepreneurial experience, how you do that, because we have been doing that in spades this year, me and my homeschool group and our amazing community. So we have to give our children an education where they can be independent in this world. So let's talk about what we've been doing, and you can all replicate this right now. You can all replicate this. I'll go over everything. But we have been doing a year-long nature unit study, and within that study, our children have been doing amazing things. They have been constructing garden boxes. They have been making banana peel fertilizer, making eggshell fertilizer. They've been composting, studying soil biology as they compost, and actually understanding what is the relevance of this stuff. Learning to read the health of their plants. What does it mean when the leaves on your plant turn yellow? Do they need calcium? Do they need potassium? Whatever it is that they might need. How do we use nature to our advantage, right? What garden bugs are good and what garden bugs are maybe not so good? And what they'll learn is that ladybugs are very desirable for your garden. So one of the things we had our students do is actually make their own ladybug feeders. And by the way, if anyone has questions, I go back and I will answer every one of your questions. Please like, share. So we did all that, but now with the changing of seasons comes preparation for our fall gardens. And this is where I really want everyone to, hey, Unicorn Mama, happy to have you here. Unicorn Mama, crushing member of our community. I saw that you did, which assignment was it that you did? I was happy to see you did it. I know you were taking a break. So anyway, we're getting ready for our fall gardens. And with that comes almost like a reset onto everything we've done with our nature unit study. So what we've done so far for the fall gardens is have our children plant seeds. And if you think you're late in the season, it's fine. What you do is you have them plant lettuce seeds because that's a quicker growing crop, right? So you're late to the party, plant lettuce seeds, no worry. So we had our students plant seeds inside. Then we had them go outside, calculate north, east, south, and west, draw a map of the property where they live. So draw your house, draw the doghouse, draw the tree in the backyard, draw the car, the driveway, and make it directionally correct, north, east, south, and west, so that the next day your child could now go outside at 7 a.m., look up in the sky, and see, oh, wow, the sun is in the east. And then, okay, at 10 a.m., the sun is still in the east. And then they're drawing this on their map. They draw a little sun to the east. At 12 p.m., the sun is to the south. At 3 p.m. to the south. At 5 p.m. to the south. At 7 p.m., the sun is in the west. And then based on that information, they could choose the best garden location. So now this week, now that our students have done that, here's what we had them do. And anyone can do this. Don't be intimidated by this. You don't have to be a member of my community. I'll explain everything. But basically, what we had our students do, our children do, is build their own greenhouses. This was an extension of something we did earlier in the season, during the spring, where we had them make little indoor greenhouses, but this is the big deal. This is the big mama jama. This is your child building a greenhouse. So what we had the students do is get 2 by 10 foot pieces of wood. Go to Home Depot. Obviously this can be done on your own, but it's smart on my end to say not to have your children do this, right? What you do is what you do. But what I suggested is you go to Home Depot and you have one of their professionals cut that 10-foot piece of wood into a 4-foot piece of wood and a 6-foot piece of wood. 6-foot piece of wood. Do that twice. So now you have 2 4-foot pieces of wood and 2 6-foot pieces of wood. You go home, you shape that in a rectangle. So you have 6 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet, 4 feet. You have your rectangle. You take a basic flat L bracket, it's just a flat L with little circles in it. You get it at Home Depot, right? You put it on the corners and you screw those pieces of wood together. You now have a rectangular garden box. Once you do that, you take 4 pieces of rebar, which for anyone not familiar, don't be intimidated. These are just metal pieces of bar. You put them on the 4 corners of your rectangle. You hammer them into the ground. You're good. You have your rectangle garden box. You have your 4 pieces of rebar hammered into the ground. You then take, by the way, everyone share this, like this. You then have, you take PVC piping. You put it over, sorry, my dogs drive me crazy with their barking. You have PVC piping. Lucy, buddy, I'm trying to do a stream. Thank you. You take your PVC piping. You put it over the rebar. It's just plastic piping. You bend it and you put it to the other bar diagonally. So it's like this, right? It makes a cross. And the two, your 2 pieces of PVC pipe will meet right at the X. You take duct tape. By the way, if you go to my Instagram, you can literally see the instructions for this. If this is hard for you to keep, if this is hard to keep up. So then you take duct tape, and right at the X, you duct tape the 2 pieces of PVC together. And then all you do is you take greenhouse plastic and you drape it over the top. You can staple that into the ground with garden staples. Boom. Under $30, definitely under $50, your child built an actual greenhouse. This is how you give your children an education worthy of freedom, because this is the type of skill that could benefit your child for their entire life. A child who could build a greenhouse, right? They might do this at 8 years old. By the time they're 13 years old, you could have them passing out flyers to their neighbors, offering to build their neighbors' greenhouses, right? And getting them entrepreneurial experience. You're giving your children the skills that they need to do real things in the real world. And that is how you give your child an education that is actually worthy of freedom. Now, let me extrapolate that out a little more. Let's go back. So we've already covered that in the spring season, our children built garden boxes. They composted. They made fertilizer out of banana peels and eggshells. They planted their own seeds. They ran their own garden. Well, another thing that we're doing, right? So on the one hand, we're getting ready for our fall gardens. The other thing that we're doing is we are having our children host an end of season, an end of summer business event. Now, what that event is, your children have complete discretion. That could be a farmer's market with the crops that they grew. If all of their plants died, no worry. They can host a bake sale. If your children are younger, they can host a lemonade stand. Doesn't really matter. Whatever. They can host a dinner party, right? Again, if all of their crops died, they can literally go to the store, get the ingredients to make cookies, bake cookies, and host a bake sale, right? This doesn't have to be too crazy. So whatever their event is, they're hosting an end of summer event. And the idea is not only to develop organizational skills, not only to develop, all of these skills, but to get them entrepreneurial experience. And I mean, hosting an event is such a big thing. So another thing that we're doing this week is our children are preparing for that. And what your children should be doing right now, and I included the sheets that will guide them, is if they're inviting specific people, they need to make a list. They need to chart if they've sent out invitations. They need to chart who's RSVP'd. They need to make the invitations. They could do video invitations. They could do evites. They could do phone calls. They can do snail mail if they want. There's a bunch of different routes your children could go with it. I like video invitations and including videography into what they're learning. I think that's a really good skill. But your children can make the invitation, send them out, track who RSVP'd. If they're inviting the general public, they need a plan for that. Are they doing a social media video? Probably not the best way to go. Are they doing flyers and putting those flyers on all of the neighbors' doors? Are they making a sign and putting it at the front yard or the corner of the street saying, hey, on this date or today, there's this bake sale, come by, right? So figure out what they want to do. If they are doing marketing, then start the process, make their sign, right? Make the flyers, put them on the neighbors' doors, whatever it might be, and getting everything ready. And then making a material list. What materials do you have? What materials do you need? Is there any cost to those materials? Chart the cost, right? Hopefully, you probably just need tables and chairs that you already have, right? But whatever it is, they need to plan it out, organize it, take all of their materials, put them in one location so that the day of the event, everything is ready to go, right? Where do I find the lesson plan for hosting the event? I posted it yesterday. If you go to lesson plans on the left side menu, and then you go to nature unit study, you'll see lesson number 33. Everything's in there. It's very comprehensive, and you'll see it. You'll know what to do when you see it. So, but it's about getting our students entrepreneurial experience so that they can do real things in the real world. because my daughter wants to sell baked goods as yeah, exactly. You don't need the crops, right? If you have them, that's nice. No worries. So what I would do is have your daughter brainstorm, what baked goods she might want to sell, look up a few recipes, and then go to the store and get the ingredients that you need. And then what I would do personally with my child is when I got to the store, I would look at the ingredients, the ingredient list on the back of, if you buy cookies, right? Cookie dough or whatever. I would look on the ingredient list and say, oh, wow, you know what? These cookies, they have red dye in them, right? Red dye 40. Do we want to sell people a product that we know could make them sick? And your child will think about it and go, well, no, that's not good. And we'll go, yeah, we want to sell them a product that we could stand behind, right? We want to sell them a product that we believe in, that we would want for mom, that we would want for dad, right? That we would want for our brother or sister or ourselves. So instead of getting this, why don't we find an alternative that's organic and doesn't have red dye in it? And then you're teaching them not only about being an entrepreneur, but you're teaching them about doing it responsibly. And you're teaching them about incorporating morality and ethics into what it is that they're doing, right? One of the things I talk to my son about a lot is a lot of these companies are ran by bad people. Because, I tell him like red dye 40 and yellow 5, and he's like, but why? I'm like, they put this stuff in there. And he's like, but why? And I'm like, for money, for, it helps them make money. And he's like, yeah, but why? Why would they hurt people, these companies? And I love that's in him. And then I talk to him about what we do. And I say, we run a business and we have products that we believe in, and we have products that we stand by, right? Products that daddy's very passionate about. And when we do business, we make sure that doing that business empowers people. It doesn't hurt them. And you can teach your children that, incorporate those ethics, that morality into what you're doing. So, and you're teaching them a great lesson about healthy living, right? So you have your child get those organic products, make them, and then host the bake sale. And then Unicorn Rainbow Mama, one of the things I really love, and I forget how old your children are, but you can do this assignment again, right? This is like a first time, a practice run. And as your child gets more advanced, and I would work on baking, like get $10 books on Amazon. Oh, a 10-year-old, great. So get $10 books on Amazon all about becoming a better, in fact, I think I'm actually going to start making some original curriculum based on cooking. Nicole and I were talking about that. But you really want to cultivate that skill of making your child a more proficient baker and cook, if that's what your child's interested in. And again, there's $10 books on Amazon that are designed to do that. And then what you do is you build on it. So the next time you hold a bake sale, you add a little wrinkle. And eventually, what I would do is once your child's making these cookies that are like, oh, these cookies, I need to have those cookies. What I would do is I would start, I would show my child different business models and the power of something like subscriptions. So back on Long Island where I was, there was this guy or girl, whoever it was, I don't know who ran this company. Nicole could actually, Nick, when you get a chance, can you post the link to their Instagram videos in Homeschools Connected so everyone could see what I was talking about? Anyway, very entrepreneurial, very creative. They bake these cookies, really good cookies, and they're like these thick, like unique cookies, and they do them with M&Ms and chocolate and whatnot, and they look amazing. And what they do is they post these Instagram videos, and they take the cookie and it's steaming hot, and they break it in half, and as it breaks in half, the chocolate melts out, and like you could see the M&Ms, and like it's very good marketing. But what they do that's unique is they offer a subscription model. And they say every whatever it is, once a week or once a month, we will deliver these cookies to your door. So now they have all of these people paying them X amount of money a month, signing up for their subscription service in their local area, right? And they only serve a certain area. And then once a week, they're baking these cookies. I'm sure they have a big operation. And they're delivering these cookies on a subscription model. That is something that a teenager could start at 15. And by the time, and I kid you not, doing something like that, if you do it right, your teenager, by the time they're 20 years old, could be making, a lot of money a month, right? I don't, they could be doing very well, right? So Unicorn Rainbow Mama, her cousin does that at 17. Okay, so that's the type of thing, that's the type of experience and mindset that she made $500 every holiday. Exactly. Now extrapolate that out and do that weekly or monthly, right? Now think about how powerful that is, right? So you can have a child who has freed themselves by the time they're 18, 19 years old, getting experience like that. And then the experience, the mindset, right? Like, you have all these people that go to business school and they never do business. Let me tell you something. If you want to learn about business, start doing business, right? So, like, this is how we give our children an education worthy of freedom. And, it's funny to me, I get like a unique view at the world. I'm going to go back and answer all your comments in a second. I get a unique view at the world because I make all my videos and I see what goes viral and what doesn't go viral. And what I've noticed to this point, any of the videos that I lead with, like how to get your child, if I lead with it, the hook is like how to get any child entrepreneurial experience. Those videos don't do well. That means the people that like them, but that means people just skip them right off the bat. And I'll get comments like, why do children need to be entrepreneurs? And it's like, you guys don't see it. Like, most people are preparing their children to be corporate wage slaves. Like, they think they're like standing up against something. It's like, the system is preparing your children to be corporate wage, like autonomous drones. And if you want your child to be free, you need to not just tell them about entrepreneurialism, because like you could tell someone about it all day. Like, what you'll learn is when you start doing business, there's like a million problems that you don't foresee that you have to adjust to. And the thing is, you learn a lot about doing business once you start doing it. It's the ultimate way to learn. And that needs to be a big part of the education we give our children. So for anyone interested in what I do, speaking of business, I own one. ClassicalLearner.com. Our private homeschool community is Homeschools Connected. We absolutely crush. And if you use the discount code FREEDOM, all lowercase, no spaces, it is $10 a month, and you'll love it. All right, so I'm going to go back and answer your questions. Good morning. This information is needed as an adult. Hi from the Cayman Islands. Cayman Islands. I know about your secret account, Chris. That's where the Cayman Islands is where all of the ultra rich people open up bank accounts, and then you can extrapolate why they do that. Hello, Texas. I'm secretly learning with my kids, trying to reprogram my brain from preschool. Yeah, and we're all doing it. And the thing is, like, the best thing we can do in terms of giving our children a good education is to let them see us model like being a lifelong learner. Like, my children see Daddy's always reading. Daddy's always trying to learn things. Daddy's always watching tutorial videos on how to do things. And like, they pick up on that, and they'll start to say things like, "Oh, why don't we watch a video and learn how to do that?" Greenhouse lesson is 33, number 33. We all are learning. It's amazing. My husband is a mechanic and knows that what rebar is. I don't. Oh yeah, Unicorn Mama. It's just metal bars. That's all. They're big, you know. They if you build a new house, right? Like right now, I'm constructing a. I mean, with a lot of help, I'm constructing a house, and they're doing the foundation. And the first thing they did was they put rebar into the ground. So under your house is rebar. Yeah, again, lesson number 33. My daughter made a flyer for a dog walking business. I helped her design it. It's via Canva. That's all your children should learn how to use Canva, by the way. Like, if your children are sending out text message invitations to family members for their event, have them make an image on Canva. It's such a great tool, and it's great graphic design experience for your children. And I love a dog. I actually did an interview with, oh God, I'm forgetting his. I need to post it to Homeschools Connected. I did an interview with a guy, very impressive guy, yesterday. That's actually part of the reason I didn't, or 2 days ago. I didn't stream 2 days ago because at 11 a.m. 2 days ago, I did this interview. I forget the name of his podcast. But he was telling me, he was homeschooled, and he was telling me how his friend, when he was in high school, started a dog walking business and was very successful. He put flyers on the neighbors' doors, and at a price per month, he would walk their dogs every day. So that's a great business for a young person. Cubs to Bears books are awesome, yes. Someone told me they're extremely right-wing. I'll take the jab. I'll take the jab, Unicorn Mama. I mean, I don't agree with the jab, by the way. Right wing. Like maybe the right to bear arms, you could say, because that's such a division line. Like people who are right wing like the Second Amendment and people who are left wing don't. But the rest of the books, I don't think they're extremely right wing. Like free speech, social media, beep, and the First Amendment. Like I mean, maybe is free speech like a right wing position? I don't know. If it is, that's sad. But like, for example, Stand Up Bear is labeled anti-bird, and because of that, he's removed from his platform. Well, how many people over the last 2 years, left wing, right wing, were labeled anti-you-know-whaters, and that label, anti-you-know-whatter, was used to justify silencing them, right? So like, really all it does is depict the way in which modern day book burning takes place, right? Or like Operation Mockingbird and the Church Committee, I don't think that's right wing. I mean, the Church Committee is just congressionally documented history of the CIA spending money to bribe corporate media, right? So like, is that right wing that the CIA pushes propaganda on all Americans? I don't think so. You know, again, like if left-wingers are like, that's a right-wing position, that's sad. Like, it's sad that they would think that. You know, like, you are what you eat's definitely, that one's not political at all. In fact, that would be, if anything, that would be a left-wing book, right? Like, it's left-wing America that's done a great job pointing out the problem with GMOs, right? The dangers, I had to be careful with my claims. I'm not making any claims, but like they brought up concerns they have with genetically modified organisms in our food system. And it's the left wing that pointed out the fluoride in the water. Like California, I knock on California a lot. California has some of the best laws in the country in terms of holding corporations accountable for making them state that some of their products that they use could cause certain problems in your body, right? So, like, I actually think California does a great job with that. And California has some of the best homeschool laws in the country. So, like, people might, like, peg me like, oh, Brett's a right-wing guy. I'm not a right-wing guy. I actually consider myself an environmentalist. I am extremely anti-war. I'm extremely outspoken about the military-industrial complex. And again, if those are right-wing positions, that's sad. Because when I grew up, the left wing, like when I grew up, it was the left wing of America that was pointing out, like, look at the problem with the military-industrial complex. So, like, again, like, people might say, oh, Brett, you're right-wing. You wrote a book, The Right to Bear Arms. But the truth is, I can't be pegged. The truth is, I have viewpoints that you would consider right-wing, that you would consider left-wing. So Operation Mockingbird and the Church Committee is the congressionally documented history of that. For example, early in the book, early in the book, the News Roosters report of a bear stealing a bike, and they show this close-up image of a bear stealing a bike. Well, later in the book, you're shown that same moment in time. And when you see the wide-angle lens, you see he's not stealing a bike. He's walking his bike into a bicycle repair shop. You know, that's not right-wing. What's that showing children? It's revealing to them a method of manipulation that the news media will often perpetrate, where they will show you a partial picture and build a narrative around that picture. But you have to look at the whole picture to understand what's actually happening. So none of this is right-wing. The bear from Jekyll Island, I mean, that is living history of how the big banking families took over the monetary system through the creation of the Federal Reserve banking system and the federal income tax, which was signed into law 1913. Again, these aren't right-wing positions. In fact, it's the left wing of America growing up that had a problem with Wall Street. So again, that would be considered historically a left-wing book. So these aren't right-wing books. In fact, anyone who would try to peg me as right-wing, for example, this week, let's talk about the last couple of weeks. I've been wanting to talk about these things. So Joe Biden just announced student loan forgiveness for students in America. And right-wing America was, oh my God, don't you? So what about the people that saved for their loans and paid their college debt? Well, let me tell you a story. I have no college debt because all of my debt was paid off. And when I put my wife, again, people will be, oh, he's so right-wing. When I encouraged my wife to go to medical school, when she was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And I was like, hey, Nicole, you should go to medical school. And I encouraged my wife to go to medical school. And then I paid for my wife. We didn't take out a loan for that one. I literally worked my butt off and paid the bills as we went. I think it was $70,000 in total that I paid as we went along. I paid for her medical school. So, right, I would be one of those people that, like, the right-wing propaganda would be like, oh, you need to be outraged about student loan forgiveness. I'm not outraged about student loan forgiveness. You know how great it is? And I don't like Joe Biden. He's a puppet, and they have their purposes of these things. Do you know how great it is that they're doing student loan forgiveness? Do you think I want to live in a country where all of these 18-year-olds are put into unforgivable debt so that they can be financially leveraged into supporting things that are against the best interest of myself, my family, my country? One of the worst things you can have is a society full of people that are in debt. All student loans should be wiped. They should be, children are indoctrinated, they are brainwashed, and by the time they are 18, their entire life, every authority figure has told them that if they don't take these loans, that they will do nothing with their lives. It is an indoctrination system, and it is horrible. It is horrible what the system does. And the reason that quote-unquote right-wing America supports keeping the student loans is because it's all a system controlled by oligarchs and bankers. And the student loans, these are just a way for these bankers to make more money, right? And to control society and control people. No, I don't support these globalist bankers that have subverted the sovereignty of the United States of America, who subvert the jurisdiction of my homeland, who care nothing about the principles my country was built on and founded on. These aren't my friends. These aren't my countrymen. These are international bodies. Yeah, you want to know who shills are, like Steven Crowder, who they let have millions and millions of followers. You're not allowed to have millions and millions of followers if you're a truth teller. And he mocks everyone, and people don't even know he's mocking them. Why? Right? Why does right-wing Steven Crowder mock everyone? His big thing is he goes on to college campuses. And he points out, quote unquote, how stupid college kids are. Which, by the way, Crowder, no one's impressed with you waging your intellectual might against 19-year-old college kids, okay? That doesn't make you intelligent. I dare you, Steven Crowder, to have a stream with me. I will rip you apart, and I will bring up things that you are terrified about the public knowing. Things that I know about you, Mr. Shill. I can see through you. Steven Crowder's funding. You know who funds Steven Crowder's operation? A group of people who made their money giving college loans to 18-year-olds who didn't know anything about the world. And then his shtick is pointing out that college is indoctrination and how dumb college students are. He is mocking everyone when he does. That is the purpose of that. That's an open challenge, Crowder. Cause I can see through you. I see your true colors. But I'm not ugly on the inside. I'm beautiful on the inside. Let's talk about what happened with... Oh my God, I'm terrified of you. Get away from me. The CIA's here. Okay, I'm about to talk positively about the FBI. Get away from me. That is the biggest wasp I've ever seen. You can have the gazebo. You have it. I've been conquered. All right, so let's talk about the situation that happened in Florida with a former leader of the United States of America, the guy with the weird haircut, and, you guys know who I'm talking about. So there was that situation, right? And after that, all of right-wing America was talking about how they need to... Oh my God, what are you? If this thing attacks me, I'm going to start crying on stream. That is the biggest stinger I've ever seen. I can't stream under these conditions. All right. He left the gazebo. Right? So all of right-wing America is like, you need to take away the financing of the Federal Bureau of the three-letter bureau, right? Right? I'm like, you sound just like left-wing America when they're like, you need to take away the financing of the police. Like, do you understand what you're talking about? Like, read some history. Like, people think like, oh, what are you going to replace it with? If that goes away, right? And like, no one calls out, oh my God. No one calls out these organizations more than I do. No one calls out these organizations more than I do. Okay. Please don't come back in here. All right. So, if you take away that funding, if these organizations all went away, right? CIA, these organizations. Do you think that the psychological operations will stop? Or do you think there would be no organization put in place to stop Mossad and MI6 and all of these other equivalents to ours of other countries from doing psychological operations on America. Like, people don't stop to think about, and like Americans have this false sense of superiority where they're like, oh, we can't be conquered. You're being conquered. You're being conquered. The way you're being conquered is through the subversion of your institutions and the destruction of institutions that could be used. I mean, they're being used against you, but could be used to defend you. And so all of these positions, everything I've just outlined for the last 15 minutes, are left-wing positions, quote unquote. Now, the wings are fake. Left versus right is fake. Democrat versus Republican is fake. This is an illusion. These are puppet strings. And if you still think they're real, you haven't seen the big picture yet. And I know it's complicated stuff. But so no, I'm not right wing. I'm not left wing. I don't fall into any of these false binary dichotomies. And the world is a lot more complicated than meets the eye. But so, long story short, are my books right wing? No. Well, that jumped a lot of comments. Now I have to go all the way back. All right. Bracelets. She will be 10 in 2 months. So proud of her. She's been baking for some years. That's awesome. My daughter wants to run a bakery. That's awesome. We go to Girl Scouts. That's awesome. Just make sure that if your children are in Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, you have to be there. Like, trust me, be there. My daughter's a natural-born hustler. I love it. Hey, Jennifer. I need to ask you about when you met Nicole's family, the party. Interesting. Absolutely join Homeschools Connected. It's so weird. I clicked on you today. She was just saying she wants to do bake sales yesterday. Yeah, like, here's the thing, like, I really appreciate Unicorn Rainbow Mama because she comes from a different perspective, but, like, I don't know, obviously I'm biased, but I think my streams are valuable to people every day. Like, I have very nuanced views on the world, and I don't know. Not the best homeschool laws in California, but they are on the better side. In terms of like all 50 states, California actually has better homeschool laws than a lot of states. Military. It's the military. It's Uncle Sam. It's your tax money. I mean, the left wing used to be anti-military industrial complex. Now the left wing supports every war. It's like hilarious. It's the way they use propaganda to absolutely mind F the public is hilarious. Like, I watched in my lifetime the left wing go from being anti-war to being like the biggest war hawks, which is like, it's amazing. Even like the left wing would have had more of a proclivity to be against the that thing they rolled out in March of 2020. Like, the left wing had more of a proclivity based on where they come from to be against that. But because number 45, because the guy with the weird hair supported, because the guy with the weird hair originally came out like a little hesitant about it, the left wing all got behind it, and then the guy with the weird hair did a 180 and became the biggest salesman of that, and he got the right wing behind it. All psyops. By the way, that guy is such a shill. I don't care. I know, like, my people get mad at me. That guy is such a shill. What a disappointment that guy turned out to be. And that will lose me, people. I don't care. I call it like it is. The only good thing he did was he was more anti-war than his predecessors, but what he allowed them to roll in, I don't know how people don't see it. I don't know how people don't see it. Yeah, I mean, there's a classical left wing. I know what you're talking about. I'm not sure if it passed yet. Maybe, I don't know. But either, it would definitely be good. That would make sense if it hasn't passed. That would make a lot of sense. They use it as an election issue and then don't actually do anything. We'll see. Uncle Sam. We would have, it's not about, I mean, yeah, stop funding the forever wars, but the reason you don't have cheap college is because they sold everyone the lie of everyone being able to go to college. And what they did was, and they played on people's empathy, and they're like, look at, there's people that have been disadvantaged, right? And what they started doing is giving out all of these loans. And when they started giving out the loans for college and anyone could get these loans, the colleges, no matter how much they raised their tuition, would get paid. And because of that, I did a whole video on this once. Because the colleges, no matter how much they raised their tuition, would get paid, just kept raising the tuition to the point where it would just put everyone in debt. Whereas 50 years ago, people used to be able to pay for college as they went by working as a waiter. And it's all a scam. It's all a scam. military-industrial complex. By the way, like with that also said, there's nuance too. Anyone who is against the military itself has no idea what they're talking about. Like, read as much history as I read, and you have to be, come on, I'm supporting you here, Uncle Sam. Like, war isn't an outlier. The entire world has been at war for all of human history. It never, ever, ever, ever stops. And it will never, ever, ever stop. And if America didn't have a strong military, then people have no idea. Like, you'll wake up one morning and you will be Libya. You will be Syria, right? There'll be some foreign bank-led military. Right now, America is the army of the globalist bankers. And what they would do is simply get another country to be their army. And then what you would have happen is one day there'd be some foreign leader saying that your leadership was corrupt and that Americans deserved democracy. Americans deserve democracy. And then you'll find out what true horror is. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Egypt, right? Arab Spring. You'll find out what true horror looks like. Yeah, NATO and America are the globalist bankers' army. And that's why, like, you'll get these people and they're like, why would that country in the Far East launch an aggressive war? Like, have you not paid attention to the world in the last 20 years? What would you do if NATO started putting troops on your borders? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the world isn't quite as it seems, Gunny. Maybe what the media is saying isn't quite accurate. Maybe we live in a world where the bad guys are the good guys and the good guys are the bad guys. Not that I'm saying that guy's a good guy. Usually they're just all bad guys. Like, he's probably a bad guy too, but anyway, you guys get it. Oh yeah, Crowder's a complete shill. I would even tell you what country he shills for, but you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to bring it up because they don't control anything. Oh, I have fun. I digress. All right. Unicorn Rainbow Mama, don't refinance your home. Like, you being in debt isn't good for your family either. Like, you as the matriarch of your family, your husband as the patriarch of your family, like, as your children grow, you want them to be able to rely on you. And I know you have good intentions there, but like, rather than refinance your house and staying in debt, what I would tell you to my child, if the money wasn't there, is say the responsible thing to do if you want to go to college would be to go to a 2-year community college, pay for it as you go, no debt, and then after those 2 years, transfer to a 2-year state college that's at a lower tuition, pay for it as you go, and then get out with no debt. That's how you do it if you want to go to college. Crowder, Pike, and Peterson debate. Go. Yeah, Peterson's another shill. Another complete and utter shill. Did you know Jordan Peterson, you ready for this, was on the council that helped write Agenda 21? He was put onto the scene to serve as a gatekeeper. Everything is animal pens, right? Like if you're a farmer, you have goats and you have sheep and you have cows and you have cats and dogs, and every animal requires different housing. And you need different gatekeepers for different housing. College is a joke unless you need a degree that is required for their profession. Right. And that profession should be one that pays a worthy salary. And yes, Melissa, thank you for that. Really appreciate Melissa spreading the word. Anyone interested in what I do, classicallearner.com, Homeschools Connected, discount code FREEDOM, all lowercase, and that's $10 a month. Yeah, well, like the that three-letter organization, the FB, you know what? It's like a double-edged sword. So like the leadership of these three-letter organizations has been completely corrupted, right? Like all of these three-letter organizations from the top right now are working against the interest of the American people. Like, and I know it's paradoxical what I'm talking about here, but you also need the organizations. I know. Like Jeffrey Epstein, they knew about him. I mean, I knew about him long before the public did because I used to track this stuff. And the FBI let him go, and he was their anyway. He was an asset of the intelligence agencies for many years, right? So like there's stuff like that, and it's completely political. So like the bleach bit situation with the lady that ran, they'll let that go. Or Hunter, the son and all the stuff he's involved with, they'll let that go. They'll raid 45 right now, although I would argue that was on purpose, because I would argue that the left wing wants him to be the one that runs, and they were trying to bump his poll numbers. But so like they're doing all these things that are against America's interests, but at the same time, like, they're also doing things. If you ever want to throw up, go look up a primary document, the Finders, and read that. And like the FBI is also doing that, and like they're stopping all of this type of stuff. So like, it's a double-edged sword. But without these agencies, America would be in a lot of trouble. And I know that's paradoxical, but it's just the truth. I try to make sure I offend every single person in their worldview by the end of my stream. These people that are new here are like, oh my God, I can't listen to this guy. How dare you? Marty Bear gets it. But that's the trap. So you're like, without government backed loans, I wouldn't be able to go to college. And that's how they get everyone in debt. And they're like, oh, isn't it so unfair? Isn't it so unfair? You won't be able to go to college. But what they do, they know by that the tuition's going to go through the roof. They're going to get everyone in debt. And then you control society that way. It's a trap. People have to accept that there are courses in your life that you might not have privilege, and that's okay. Oh, but it's not fair. Everyone gets to go. It's fine if everyone can't go. You find a different way in life, right? And then there are ways to go because, like I explained, you could still go to community college, right? And then from there, you could save up and you could go to a four-year school. And if they weren't giving out loans to everyone, right? If they weren't doing that, the tuition wouldn't be nearly as high. The reason the tuition is so high is because of the loans. So it's like, it's just a trap, and they play on that empathy, and, that's why they push, oh, privilege, victim, like, we're all privileged and we're all victims, but all that matters is your mindset. Like, yeah, I consider myself very privileged. I have a great life. And yeah, if you compare my life to other people, you'd be like, oh, he has no privilege at all. Why would I compare my life to other people? I have great privilege. Why do I care what the Rockefellers do? They could go jump in a lake, right? Or I could be a victim. Oh my God, people like you have to talk in code. You've had multiple social media platforms, nuclear bomb everything you've worked for in the middle of the night with huge followings just gone. I wake up in the morning. Oh my God, you're such a victim. Oh my God, you didn't want to go along with the nonsense after March of 2020. Every time you tried to go into a store and you wouldn't put on a facial covering, you got yelled at. You're such a victim. I'm not a victim. I've been victimized. I'm not a victim. That's a mindset. So I am privileged and I'm not a victim, but just at a mindset. And people, the problem is they have the wrong mindset. So they'll be like, and I'm not saying like, I'm not knocking on you here. I'm just talking about people's mindset in general. They'll be like, but other people have privilege. They could go to college and I can't. Okay. As soon as you accept that, you accept the destruction of your nation. As soon as you accept that, you accept the destruction of your nation. And that will ultimately, what the Native American tribes said is, anytime you accept the destruction of your nation, it will be felt seven generations down the line. So like when you accept, you got to give me that loan. You got to give me that loan. Your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, their children all have to suffer for that. That's a trap. And I'm not saying that to get at you. It's not about you. It's just, I try to wake people up to mindset. The reason they do this privilege and victim stuff, Owen Benjamin talks about this stuff in a very powerful way, is they basically create the pit and the pedestal. So everywhere in society, they'll be like, oh, these people are on the pedestal. Look at them. They're so privileged. And then if you're not them, you're in the pit. You're such a victim. Now get at each other. These are all methods of mind control. These are methods of manipulation. Yeah, shooter McGavin gets it. He gets it. And by the way, I also don't fall in that trap either. Like, what you said is true, but my baker down the block, like, he's not responsible for that. Like, don't fall in that trap either and be like, oh, so he's that thing, so he's bad. Like, no, he's just he's just a guy who owns a bakery. Like, he's not responsible for what the bankers do because they claim to identify, to follow the same religion as him. Like, that's not, he's just a guy. He's a good, like, you have to judge people as individuals, but then understand there are institutions above that, which, like, as an aggregate are, yes. It would be like saying that I'm responsible for the wars in the Middle East. I'm not responsible for the wars in the Middle East. I can't stop the military-industrial complex. I've been trying. I'm not going to be successful with that. Maybe after I educate a generation of children. Just Jen, I didn't mute you, but if one of my mods did, I don't question their authority. But no, they say they can see you. Yeah, my mods have complete authority in this chat. If they mute someone, if they ban someone, I don't question their discretion. This chat belongs to you, the people. And the people are... And by the people, I mean the people that I respect enough that I've made mods that I consider many of them friends. Like Melissa, I consider a personal friend of mine now. Like, our families have gotten very close, and we're probably going to wind up raising our kids together. So I'm very, very grateful and very blessed for that. Right, but it's not about deserves. Like, I agree. Every kid who wants to go to college, they do deserve to. But it's not about deserves, right? It's about we're all in different spots in our life. And for some families, like, hey, you could spend $100,000 a year on college. That's great. Some families could spend $100,000 a year on elementary school. I've met families that do it. $100K a year in elementary school. Should the government give you a loan for $100K to go to elementary school? Like, no. If you're in that situation, you send your child to community college, and if that's what they want to do, and then you have them work their way through the 2 years of a state school after community college. And if you want to help them out, you work with them. Yeah, but that's how your nation falls apart. As soon as you're like, oh, but poor children should be doctors too. What about the poor children? Then you got to understand that there's bankers who control your country that are going like this. Right? Like, and I know that's an exaggeration. It might not be. But as soon as you accept that, then they know they can give out the loans. And then the loans will be used to drive up the price of tuition, and it will create a cycle where the tuition keeps getting higher, so more and more people are too poor to go to college, and they need the loans. In 1950 or 1960, you can literally pay your way through college by working as a waiter. And I've done whole reports on this. And by the way, you're talking to someone that literally put their wife through medical school. Like, speaking of becoming a doctor, I put my wife through medical school. Yeah, it's such a trap, and then they play on people's sensibilities. First, they were like, it's not fair because the poor people can't go to school. Then they were like, then there's disadvantaged people, like historically disadvantaged people. They can't go to school. And they do one after another, and what they do is they just get this system where everyone accepts that they need to have the loan system in place, and then, boom, they got you. It's a trap. My book, The Peanut Trap, that's what it's about. It's a trap. I see Unicorn Mama, but you're focusing on privilege. You're like, oh my God, but not everyone has a husband. Then it's okay that some people might have to accept that they're not going to be a doctor. Or if they want to be a doctor, they have to make the money first and then pay for medical school. And until people are willing to accept that, you will never get your country back. The housing will always be $1 quadrillion. The school will always be $1 quadrillion. That's the price you play. Like, economics 101 is there's no such thing as a free lunch. And people are like, what does that mean? Why isn't there such thing as a free lunch? They're telling you, because when they give out that free money, it will make everything else in society cost so much more, right? Now, if you want to advocate for setting up better scholarship programs, right? Like, I'd be for that. Things of that nature, better grant programs, right? But when you start talking about the loans, you are damning the future of your children. And they're going to play on your sensibility, but it's not fair. Not every child gets to go to college. So what? Not every, this child was underprivileged and they're historically disadvantaged. So what? I'm not as privileged as the Rockefellers. No matter who you are, there's always someone with more privilege. That's life. Right, and there does need to be more scholarships, but as soon as you accept the loans, then that's what you accept. Like, and it's a trap, and they're good at it, man. They play a good game. They play a game with that. But anyway, I'm going to call it a stream on that. www.classicallearner.com. Homeschools Connected. Anyone interested in joining, it's $10 a month with the discount code FREEDOM, lowercase f. You'll love it. And anyway, you get access to everything I do, all of the unit studies I create, the lesson plans I create, our STEM stuff, our science stuff based in the scientific method, yada, yada, yada. You guys get it. The courses I teach on the Bill of Rights, American Revolution, propaganda, media industrial complex, and a whole lot more. We have an amazing community of homeschool mothers and fathers that have accumulated literally thousands of years of homeschool experience, and a pen pal program. We have state groups so that you can meet people in the state that you live, which is super cool. And we're just going to keep building. So I am now going to drink from my cup for the next 10 minutes, 10 seconds. And I'm doing that for Melissa.